Hi, John Moore here, and I am a practitioner and teacher of shamanism here in the state of Maine, in New England, in the northeast of the United States. And I want to talk about shamanic mentorship in Maine and beyond, because I have been doing a lot of mentoring of students of shamanism, both here in Maine and in other places, including abroad. But very specifically, I'm interested in the state of Maine. And mentoring has become very popular these days, which is, well, I'll describe how it works. It's really one-on-one learning. And the way that mentorship works in shamanism normally is that you would meet with a teacher, such as myself or another teacher, and you would meet every so often, once every week, once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, whatever the pace that you set with your teacher. Your teacher would work with you on some exercises, some journeys, some things, and then give you work to do in between mentoring sessions. Then the next time when you came back, you would check in. The mentor would ask how things were going, get feedback, give feedback, and then sort of plot a course for you to learn to the depth and breadth, I guess, of what you want to learn regarding shamanism. And that's the way a lot of mentorships work. The way it works with me, with students who mentor with me, is that we'll have an initial meeting in which we don't really do any work, but we just decide if we want to work together, whether it's a good fit. That's extremely important. I can't overstate the importance of good fit and how much that means to the relationship. A good teaching, mentoring relationship is really important. And the types of things that make a good teaching mentor relationship are excellent boundaries. I will talk about myself and things that I have gone through, things that I've experienced, things that I have learned, only to teach. I don't talk about, last week I went to the store and this guy cut me off and blah, blah, blah. None of that, because it's not important. It's not important to the learning, and that's egocentric. It's ego-based. It is about me. But I have personal stories that sometimes can be helpful. So I will do that. But I will say that the boundary in a teaching relationship, particularly in shamanism, is extremely important. And so I don't mentor friends, and I don't befriend my mentees or my students. I don't go out to dinner with my students. I don't enter into personal relationships with them. It is, while there are no laws or regulations around it, it is very much like a therapy relationship. Not that a shamanic teacher is doing therapy, but the relationship is similar in that the boundaries need to be in place for the right things to happen. So that is a little bit about how the relationship works. So again, I would meet with a student up front. It would be maybe a short meeting, but talk about their goals, talk about what they want to learn, talk about what they have studied in the past, and answer every single question they have. Very limited exceptions. If they were to ask me to disclose something personal or private or what have you, that was violating a boundary, I wouldn't do that. But that's honestly never happened to me. Anybody's asked me about, what my experiences in shamanism are, I'm very happy to relay that, because it's important to understand what the people who have gone before you have gone through. And I taught martial arts for a really long time. And you might know that in Japanese, the term for teacher, which we use in Japanese martial arts, is sensei. And sensei means like one who was born before or one who has gone before, right? I have experiences that you might not have had yet. And so in that regard, I have some things to share. The teacher-mentee relationship in shamanism is not meant to be a guru-devotee relationship. And if you ever encounter a teacher who tries to create that or has that relationship with their students, that is a huge red flag. And I am not going to talk about other belief systems and other religions. Well, shamanism isn't a religion, but other forms of spirituality where they actually do have guru worship as part of the thing. That's not the case in shamanism. We approach each other as equals. I do have things to share. The shamanic teaching relationship and the boundaries around that have to be respected by both of us. And in that case, we're equals. But I don't ever want anybody to look at me that way. So I refer to myself as a guide, not a guru. Okay. Yes, I have things, I have experiences, I have learnings that I can pass on to you because I have done things that you haven't done yet. And likewise, there are things in your life that you could teach me. I learn stuff from my students all the time because no human being knows everything. I am not an ascended master or enlightened or any of those things. You do not grovel at my feet. And so you should never, ever enter into that kind of relationship. Those kinds of relationships are ripe for abuse. And we see it again and again in many spiritual communities. So while I have not encountered this personally, and I don't know of anybody who teaches in this way, I've heard stories. So it's pretty rare in shamanism. If you practice shamanism for any length of time, it has a way of informing your worldview pretty significantly. So after the initial meeting, if it was with me, we would decide if we wanted to work together. And that is, I would take a lot of things into account, like, do I think you're earnest in wanting to learn shamanism, or is it just like, hey, I hear this is cool and I want to learn this? Or is it, I really feel like this is my path, or, I really want to learn this for some personal reason, or, and I will evaluate all of that. I'll evaluate how we get along. So if we don't see eye to eye in an initial meeting, I'm probably not the right fit for you. So if either one of us decides that the relationship is not for them, then we don't begin a mentoring relationship. At that point, for me, ethically, what I would do is, if I could help you, would be to refer you to a trusted, beloved, respected colleague. I have a lot of connections in the shamanic community. I know a lot of teachers in the shamanic community. I've been through teacher training with a number of fantastic people. And so I would be very happy to refer you out if I'm not the right fit, or if you're not the right fit for my teaching style. And I've been teaching long enough to understand if you would take to my teaching style. So let's talk about mentoring in Maine. Now, currently we are in a global pandemic. So most people, including myself, are mentoring virtually over Zoom. This is not a problem. You do not have to be in the same room for mentorship, for one-on-one teaching. There's no reason for it. Like there's no advantage to be gained by it. And there, it's risky during a pandemic. So meeting somebody over Zoom or Skype or whatever is totally fine. Is totally fine in a one-on-one mentorship. Now there are things, if you decide to do an apprenticeship. Now apprenticeship is a long-term relationship that involves a structured course, usually with the same group of people over a long period of time, a year or more. And if you do that, there are some times where some of the learning has to take place face to face. And that is definitely a challenge during the pandemic. I am not currently teaching apprenticeships. I hope to start in 2022 at some point. I have to see what the pandemic's going to do, but it is what it is, and I don't want to do those virtually. But I work with people from all over the world in one-on-one, and I have done I've done healing practice with people on thousands and thousands of miles away. Distance doesn't matter, and it matters even less in teaching, because it's about, can I talk to you? Can I guide you through something? And there's nothing physical. There's nothing where, I necessarily have to touch somebody to teach them something. There are very few practices in shamanism that involve physical touch. And the few of those you can sort of demonstrate maybe without having to actually do it. So there are lots of good teachers in Maine. You want to find the right one. Doesn't necessarily have to be in Maine, and you don't have to be in Maine. You can find a great teacher here that takes people remotely, like I do, and get with them. And this is not a sales pitch. I'm not trying to tell you should work with me. I actually have very, very limited availability to work with individuals. As you might imagine, it takes up a lot of time, attention, and effort to work with people, and the quality of the teaching has to be impeccable, right? So good shamanic teachers have impeccable boundaries and impeccable ethics. So what are some things you might want to know before you take on a mentorship in shamanism, whether that's in Maine or somewhere else? You would want to talk to your teacher about their teaching experience. How long they've been teaching is not really as important as where do they learn how to teach? Do they have special training? Do they have specialties in shamanism? So in shamanism, there are all kinds of different specialties, and most people will gravitate towards a few specialties. One of mine is soul retrieval. It's something I have taken to. I know other people who specialize in weather shamanism, and I know other people who specialize in animal whispering, which is working and communicating with animals. And that's not a specialty I have. And if that were something you were interested in learning, I would be very upfront and say, I can't teach you that because I don't do that. However, I know lots of people who do, and let me help you find somebody who can do that for you. Ultimately, teaching is not about making money. It's not about there will be some sort of exchange, usually financial, because I have to live in today's world and eat and pay the light bill, and my kids need stuff for school. So there will be an exchange because I've invested my time and effort and energy and in you, and there, without any sort of energy exchange, there's it's an issue, as many issues. Perhaps I'll do a whole video about that at some point. So just understand that. Just understand that there will be that exchange with the person. So, but it's not about the money per se. Definitely there. People need to eat and live and stuff. But I'm not going to mentor somebody who's not a right fit just to make a few extra bucks, because that's unethical, and your helping spirits will stop working with you if you start acting unethically. It's not about setting up a dependent relationship. Shamanism is a path of individual revelation, meaning I'm going to show you, I'm going to guide you into learning how to get answers for yourself. I'm not going to give you answers. I'm going to show you processes which you can get your own answers. And that's extremely important, because anything else is not a really good shamanic relationship. And the practitioner that you're working with, the teacher you're working with, should be low on the hubris scale. Like, I will be very clear about what I can and cannot do, what I can and cannot teach, what I have studied, what I have not studied. Anybody who claims they can do it all cannot. Anybody who tries to set them up as a guru is huge red flag. Run away. Don't do it. Don't enter into a relationship with them. Say thank you very much. But again, most people don't, and most teachers are very good and don't do that. So, make sure the relationship is good. Make sure you fit with the person. Make sure there's specializations or things that you want to learn. Ask them about their training. Realistically, somebody practicing shamanism as a healer should have several years of training. Somebody teaching shamanism should have a year or more training after that, because teaching and practicing are two different things. And you do want, you want somebody to mentor you who has practiced shamanism as a healer, because if they haven't, there's stuff that they can't teach from experience, and that doesn't make sense. It would be like trying to learn to play baseball from somebody who has never played baseball before. If somebody's not working as a practitioner, I'd be really leery about perhaps learning from them as a teacher or a mentor. That being said, the relationship should be relatively flexible. The person should be tailoring the mentoring, tailoring what you're learning to you, to where you are, to the pace that you're comfortable going. They shouldn't force you to do things that you're uncomfortable with. But there may be some gentle pressure sometimes to do things that I'm a little worried about that. But everything should always be your choice. Your teacher, your mentor should never take away your free will. And that is really, really important. Nobody should say, you're going to do this now, whether you want to or not. That's not a good relationship. That's not a relationship on equal footing. Again, that's setting up that guru relationship where, you call me master, or, whatever. None of that. That's not good. In fact, it made me icky just to say that in a joking way. Ask about their teaching credentials. Where did they learn to teach? Who did they learn to teach from? You can feel free to Google their teachers and find out about them. Are they reputable? All of those things. As far as organizations go, there are a number of shamanic organizations. I won't speak to the quality of any of them, but I will tell you that membership in some kind of organization does not equal being a good teacher automatically. Are there people in just about every organization who are good teachers? Sure, absolutely. But that's not the sole credential to judge somebody by. Oh, I joined the International Association for Shamanic Teachers. I think there's no such thing, and if there is, I apologize. I'm just making that up because I don't want to single anybody out. Generally, it means nothing. Most organizations you can join by paying for, or you take a very introductory class and you can become a member of an organization. So that's not a really important criteria. And I probably belong to a couple of organizations for the sake of getting their newsletters, and I don't list that on my credentials anywhere because it doesn't mean anything to me, and it shouldn't mean anything to anybody else. And there's none that I know about that have a real heavy educational requirement or experiential requirement or anything like that. There certainly could be. I'm just not aware of it. And I'm in no way trashing organizations. I'm just saying it's not it's not the super important credential in finding a mentor. So with that, I'm gonna wrap things up. Coming upon about 20 minutes now, and I'm trying to keep these short and informational. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, you can feel free to contact me through my website. The link is below this video in the description. I am happy to hear from you. I am happy to answer questions, steer you in the right direction if you have questions or are looking for a mentor or teacher. And I promise I don't just steer people towards myself. Like I said, I have limited capacity, and I always love to refer to trusted colleagues, people that I have worked with personally and know the quality of what they're doing. And I have a number of people that I associate with so I can do exactly that. With that, I hope you are happy and healthy and lovely, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I've got more videos coming soon, and I would love it if you give me a like. If not, that's cool too, and I will talk to you real soon.